Hello, parenting family from across the globe. Thank you so much for joining us once again on our program, your program, the Slow Parenting Podcast. My name is Richie Adewusi. I'm your host, as always. So, welcome. Okay, today we're going to try to do some fun things. Learning is fun, fun is learning. So, we're going to try to um, look at some fun ways of doing, the intergenerational learning thing today. Okay, so thank you so very much for staying with us. And just a little bit of information. Um, February will be exactly 1 year. That's next month. That we've come to you with the Slow Parenting program podcast, and we'll be putting together a very special uh, edition, a special program for the anniversary of uh, this special program, okay, on parenting. So if you'd like to be part of our anniversary, just send us a message. It's not going to cost you anything. We just send us your goodwill messages, and it'll be part of that package. So welcome for today's program. And today we are going to be talking about leaving your handprints, or rather, leaving handprints on the signs of tomorrow. Okay, leaving your handprints on tomorrow. As the saying goes, leave your footprints on the sands of time. This time is handprints we are talking about, especially or particularly handprints from our mothers, of course, grandmothers, great grandmothers, um, especially to build bridges, okay? Continue with those bridge building processes for our children and with our children in relation to our parents or our great parents who would be their grandparents and their great grandparents. So today we're going to look at a particular or some fun um, maybe activities that could help us with getting this done. But even as I'm speaking, I want to believe that some people are, oh God, not the grandparent. Oh, no. We will pick up fun fault points about relationship with spouses, parents, or their grandparents, and then begin to burn the bridges that should and could and uh, would have, brought the required bonding, generational bonding between us, our children, and our parents. That shouldn't happen. Um, we might have had our issues with our parents as we were growing up. I had, but the man turned out to be, you know, gratitude, feeling of gratitude at the end of the day. When I remember some of the things we frowned at those days, and like I'm now, oh, thank God for my mother. Okay. Maybe if you sat back a little bit and reminisce and brainstorm, go through some of those things you feel you are so angry about, with your dad or your mom or your granddad or your grandmom, you might actually find reasons to be grateful that, I mean, they directed it to certain paths as you are going on. Today, I can boast that I can cook. But it wasn't fun. It wasn't easy. Okay, it wasn't easy. If you uh, if you read the Seven and a Half Temptations parents' face, you will come across a story I told you about when I messed up with cooking a particular soup and what happened. It didn't go well. But I learned, okay? But today we're not talking about cooking soups and all. We're just talking about, you know, fun activity that grandparents especially could engage in, but with a particular intention to say, I was here with you. Okay? I shared this space with you. I shared this planet with you. I share this lifetime with you. I still miss my grandmother. I do. Okay. And I have had courses to share in previous episodes of the program, the kind of relationships I had with her over time. And I still cherish those relationships. Things I learned from her about entrepreneurship, things I learned from her about fashion, about, standing out, being stylish. Yeah. But today, what do we have? We call our parents old school. Yes. And then guess what that causes? If you call your parents old school, what would your children call your parents? But within that concept of old school lies the bigger concept of generational impartation of wisdom, knowledge, understanding, especially using our pets backdrops again, our culture, our tradition, our family values, our etiquettes. They are the ones in the best positions to help you, okay, take your children through a fresh or review or update the information would have given your children about some particular issues about your family, okay, where you come from, how you do things. You might not have gotten it all right, okay? So don't be afraid for not of, don't be afraid for grandma or grandpa to come around and be with the children. Get your children to become comfortable with relating with your parents, their grandparents. Okay? And the processes for that to happen shouldn't really be challenging that much. If we remember that we too, at some point, yes, at some point would also become some people's grandparents. How would you want to be treated? How would you want your grandchildren to relate with you? If you would not let your own children relate with your parents, there's something the Yorubas call aboaba. Hmm? It means, well, the closest thing to it in English or Latin or whatever, or Greek or whatever that language is karma. Aboaba. You are laying a foundation of bond bridges or for bond bridges. Don't bond bridges. Build them. Put the structures or equipment in place for generational bridges to be built, okay, between you, your children, and your parents. When your children also then begin to have their own children, they already would have had building materials with which to continue that bridge building business across the generation, and it continues that way. Now, grandparents, if you are listening to me, I am one. I'm a grandparent here. I have two beautiful granddaughters. Yes. I remember some years ago, the young lady I'm talking about now, uh, in Nigeria, within the educational system, she's in JS3 now. That's third year in secondary school, basically. But at the time, the story I want to relate to you now, she was just about, she was on three, maybe, maybe three going on four. And then she kept telling her parents wants to go to see grandpa, wants to be with grandpa. And they brought her all the way from Abuja in Nigeria to Ado Ekiti State, where I spent most of my time there. And they left her with me and left. And we had such a wonderful time. I love to pick snails. I love to keep snails then. I'll go one snail picking with her. But I hadn't, what I want to share with you today, what I really found of, interest, that I'm like, oh, I got to share this with the family. I didn't have that idea then. I'm like, when I saw it online, I'm like, oh, this is beautiful. This is so beautiful. So it is practically leaving your handprints on the memory of your grandchildren by way of inking your handprints on their clothing. You can have it done in an embrace. Yeah, you've already put the ink. The inks are already there. Your arms, depending on how far you want it to go. And you can hold them in a warm embrace. Okay? And those prints remain on those. You could actually go, get some brand new t-shirts, white preferably, and give to each of them as you arrive in their place, or you go shopping when you arrive, pick up those t-shirts, and there's a gift to each of them. And there's a guy, come on, children, we're going to have some fun game. You get some indelible inks or paints, and okay, put this. Your palms are really important. The other parts of the hand maybe, but if you really want to make it fun, go all the way. And then, okay, we have a question. We have a question from a community member. So let's see. Inks or paints. Let's just look at the question now. It says some parents worry that older family members may share outdated beliefs or ideas with their children. How should parents handle this? What you call outdated ideas and beliefs are part of your culture, part of your tradition. The important thing is to first that older family members may share those are harmful or ideas with their children. And the person to address is not the children. Outdated ideas. Don't listen to grandpa. That's not. Talk with your parents. Part of your culture. Leave your children out of your tradition. Children out of it. Talk with your parents. The important thing is to first. They still are older family members if one those are in the best position for any. And the person to if you address outdated, what you call outdated idea. What I told you yesterday, well, I have another version of that story. Talk another story of your culture. You can make it fun of your tradition. Don't make it confrontational. Don't go argue. No, what you're telling these children, you're just misleading them. No, don't do that. Okay? Let the story finish. The children are enjoying it. Oh, well, this is how to prepare this. Mom, I just say preparing that way. It's nice. Leave them to have their time with their grandchildren. Then you can now have your time with your parents, your mom, your dad, who is one passing the particular information or the particular offensive or, well, outdated belief or, information that you have an issue with. Because you are the one who has an issue with the information or the practice you are talking about. The children don't even know what you are talking about. Okay, so you are the one who need not to go back to your mother, your father that had passed the information to say, Dad, Mom, that things have changed. That thing you said to the children that time, is it still that way? Make fun out of it. And then you can then inspire a new version of that information or that activity. Okay? Remember, I've said, don't go being combative, being confrontational about it. The children who would have had the information don't know anything about the information. Remember, it's you that know what the old version is and what the new version will be. So Sort it out with your mom, your dad that have passed information, and then let them review according to your present family situation. Guess what? If indeed the information is outdated, you would have had to educate 2 generations. Okay? You would have had to encourage, okay, inspire 2 generations with the current information concerning the issue that you raise an eyebrow. Your mother or your parents would have given that information that, well, maybe truly might be outdated, yes, okay? And then your children, they know that this is where this happens now. And your mother, your father would say, oh, really? Oh, well, now, I don't have that information. And you laugh about it. But if you go combative, everybody learned nothing. So, and then you would have ended up creating a barrier between your parents and your children and yourself. You don't want that to happen. Remember what we are getting at? We're talking about building generational bridges. Okay. So it says, how should parents handle this? Handle it amicably. Okay. Handle it with a view of impacting whatever the new information or the new way of doing that particular thing is to the 2 generations who might be ignorant about the new way at that particular point in time. Share it, not at the time your father or your mother is having that time with your children. No, let them finish. There will be another session where if it was an erroneous information where it could be corrected, and it will be another fun time between your parents and your children. Or if we really want to now make it a larger family thing, your parent that is passing the information could say, okay, children come, okay, Mary come, all right? Children, your mom has a different version of what I told you yesterday. Let's hear her. It becomes a fun time for the whole family and no hard feelings. Everybody learns, everybody bonds, everybody feel the need to continue to relate or associate. Another community member here says, just a moment here. Another community member here says, if a parent is estranged from their own parents, how can they ensure that their children can still have a sense of family legacy? What brought about that estrangement? Could it be repaired? Okay. Could amends be made between, well, the parents and their own parents? Could the children even be the building blocks with which to amend the estrangement in the very first place? Okay. I shared in the course of this program a number of editions ago, actually at the early stages of, and well, at some other occasions. My mom and my grandparents were not really they were not the best of friends, okay? But they were fond of each other. And then we, the children, became the building blocks, okay, for repairing, well, the wobbly relationship bridge between them over time. So how did it happen? Our mom would, not that our grandparents would want to see us during the holiday periods. She will go shopping. She will keep going to shop, come back, package, this is for uncle, this is for aunt, that is for grandma, this grandpa, keep going to shop. And then when the school closes or would have closed that time, we'll package everything, package our holiday bags, and put us in the train. That time, it wasn't a telephone thing or telegram. They go to the railway station and send telegram to my grandparents. And then they'll be at this train station waiting for us. But then you would say, as you're listening to me, that that's an ideal, that there's no brokenness. There were not on talking terms, but because of us, there was, if you like, an excuse to talk. to relate. So we'll now go to meet our grandchildren, our grandparents. They will pick us up at the railway station. We'll go home. And guess what will happen next? Our mother will soon arrive and say she was missing us. That's why she came. She was missing us, her children. So she would arrive to several of us are in the same place, our own parents, ourselves. So the family is together. But then some family broken situations are not as funny as the ones I'm referring to now. There are really some very serious. But at the same time, the children could actually really be excuses for mending relationships. Okay? One way to do that, okay, because this question is how can they ensure that their children still have a sense of family legacy? The parents should now play the role of telling those family stories and say, well, your grandfather used to say this, used to do this with me. If he had been your grandmother, keep referring to your parents. And then you will be surprised that your children will develop a craving to see, to visit, or have their grandparents visit. And unless you are, well, whatever it is that would have happened to create the estrangement in the first place, again, that could be a reason that could lead to the mending of relationship in the family. Okay? So, in the meantime, you have to now you are now the family custodian. You are now the family historian. Okay? To now present to your children how this is how we cook this soup in our family. This is how we gather to eat. This is what happened this period of the year when so and so kind of activity would have been happening where we come from. You relate those things, the children might begin to crave, for the real environment in which those things would have happened, which might lead to, okay, them wanting to see their grandparents or begging you to invite them to visit. Remember what we're talking about here, building intergenerational bridges. When that happens, the bridge is on its way to being built back. But then, particularly today, we are talking about that fun game of, the ink marks on your palms as grandparents. Okay? And then embracing each and every one of your grandchildren one by one with the ink marks, either by by way of having them at their backs, or you can just nicely put on their chest. Your fingerprints, your palm prints remain there in those shirts. Remember, first of all, you gave them the shirts, or you asked for the shirts to be bought for them. Like we said, preferably white. I mean, for better resolution, white will show any color that those inks, are in. And then one by one, at the end of the day, thank God for cameras. You take pictures, okay? I'm going to pause at this point and let you see that.
And this is another one. Hi, what's up? So this is gradually becoming a trend where you have grandchildren and you have the children come together to have a handprint of their grandma on their shirt. And this is another one where we have all the grandchildren gather together to come get here, because it was emotional to see all our grandchildren come get the handprint, and you can see the excitement in the children. If you've not done, you can try it out. You know that you have to buy white shirt, and get ready to have the print red or any choose any color. You can see some of them take their mom, grandma, for being exceptional. I think I'll try this with my mom this new year. This is all of them. Try it out with Grandma, you can see the excitement in Grandma's face. Mama, we know you're not going to lose you right now, but we love you greatly. God bless you. Okay.
Thank you so much, and welcome back. Now, what's your view about that video? What did you see? What do you find of interest in it, or what don't you find of interest in it? But I guess for me, for us here at Slow Parenting, it's a fun way of practically, okay, leaving indelible bonding marks on your grandchildren. They will cherish those shirts even when those grandparents are far gone. Some of them would store up those shirts. I have memorabilia from my grandmother till date. And then she's been gone for over, well, 40 years. I tell stories about what I learned from her, things I saw her doing. It might not be so for everyone, but then you can create those moments. You can create those opportunities for your children by taking them to go stay with your grandparents, or all of you going on holidays to stay with your grandparents. Okay? And they might find one or two things of interest to learn that will endear those grandparents to them. Or bring your parents to your civilized, modern environment. Okay? And let them do things in those old school, archaic way. Sit and watch and enjoy it yourself. Enjoy them yourself. I actually think that the only things that you should maybe talk to them about separately again, not as the activity is going on, unless the activity is outrageously dangerous. Okay? So if it's not something that will harm the children, leave them to finish. Then go to have that conversation with your parent later and say, Mom, Dad, the world has changed. It looks like you're still stuck where, what do you mean? Well, you go into that conversation, which might lead to another, you know, session of interaction with the children, which might then include you if you get invited to say, okay, oh, children, I have another version. Your mother or your father has another version of what we were talking about yesterday, and we share, and everybody would feel better for it. Everybody will feel happier for it. Everybody will feel much more grateful for such moments, such times in the future. Okay? So I'll leave you, I'll go on another short break now for a commercial. When we come back, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to tell you a story of what happened the first time I visited the village. Yes, personal me. It was a fun time, but I learned something, two things really. I will share with you when we get back. Okay? Stay with us. I'm addressing you now, young couples, male, female. And please listen to me and listen carefully. Any woman that would not respect the father would not respect you eventually. Any man that would not respect his mother would respect you. So, courting, open your eyes. Since during marriage counseling classes, years gone by, we used to tell couples it is better to separate than to divorce. Meaning, it is better for the courtship to be ended for you to blindly go into marriage and then begin going to that should be outstanding. That should be red flags. I will repeat, young man, the person you are courting has a hard planning. My father did this to my mother. My father did this to my mother every time, everything. Yes, walk away. You see, about the father, it will be spread to you without you're doing anything. The same thing, young woman. My mother never took care of me. My mother was not used to cooking for us. She was never there. My mother, a young woman. That complaining agency will be opened in your name down the road. Look for have cordial relationship with people. Start from there. It's not everyone, but it's not everyone that must be your wife, or it's not everyone that must be your home. Build how beautiful, no matter how intelligent, no matter how just it's important that the canvas, the broad canvas on which we must paint our parenting profile, must communication, open, sincere, non-communication. That also becomes help. You are taking how to do that child is showing not getting quite right. So
recording in progress.
Right the first time. Oh no, wait. So I was curious, I love to. So when I arrived in the village, I kept asking my grandparents, where is the garlic tree? Where is the garlic tree? They kept laughing at me. They would laugh. What do you mean garlic tree? So, well, the first person that thought he was being serious with me took me to show me a cassava, cassava plant in a farm close to the compound. I'm like, where is the garlic? I can't see any garlic on the tree. They say, well, it's inside the ground. I'm like, no, this can't be true. So I was left alone there, trying to figure out how does the garlic go from inside the ground to now climb the tree and come out maybe on the leaves and you cannot harvest it. I was still there going through that brainwave. I didn't know the people that brought me there had left. And I was left there. Remember, I'm coming to the village for the first time. Very first time. I was about, well, maybe 9 or 10 that time. So kids get lost in an activity and then, so I was just so engrossed in that cassava plant, still trying to figure out where is the Gary. And then lo and behold, the people that brought me had gone back to the compound. I mean, they have other things to do there. I left me there, lost in my own world. Then as I turned around, I didn't see them. And I saw this big moth, butterfly, the type they call moth, big giant one, perched on one of the cassava leaves. I'm like, I have never seen that size of moth butterfly. I was petrified. I was now thinking about how to get up from where I was squatting and walking past that thing there, and on the wings, it just looked like they had eyes, that there were eyes on the wings, these patterns. The moth was huge. I managed to get up. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. If you promise to laugh, I will. If you promise not to laugh, I will continue. But if you laugh, well, hold on. We have another contribution from a community member. It says here, do you believe that family values evolve over time, or should they remain unchanged across generations? It depends on what those values are. Values are value. Values are not, they're actually not traditions. Okay? Values are concepts. Truth remains truth. It doesn't change. Nothing changes it. Lies remain lies. They don't change. Although these days we have things that people call alternate reality. Well, if you are someone who spends a lot of time on TikTok and on social media, you will not even know what is meant by true or falsehood anymore. That's not value. That's not what value. So first, let's talk about what would you say. Let's give example of what those values are now. Let's take marriage ceremonies in a family, for instance. In a tradition that the family values, this is in this family, okay? Our values are the only time you, the female child, could live alone outside of maybe you are in school is when you live here to be in your husband's home. That has a lot of gaps that can come out of it by way of work, by way of, movement due to work, study. But then again, travel could be a challenge. But if you are still within the same geographical location, in Nigeria, there are family members across different places. And there are some other relations, maybe friends, that are close enough that you think are family, that child, that young person can still stay with. It will still mean that it's still within the family. Okay? In my family, it is not acceptable for young ladies to go to rent accommodation to live by themselves if they are not married. Up onto my generation, up onto the generation of my children. That's a value. But could it change over time? I'll give you certain circumstances in which it might change. I don't own a house in Australia, for instance. So a child maybe gets a job to go to live in Australia or go to school in Australia. We've already removed school from it. School is not it. When you're in a hostel, that's a different thing. Everybody understand that you're in the hostel. Now, if a child is not married, but gets a job to go to work in Australia, you will carry your house and all of you will move there. No, that's an entirely different thing. But what's important is whatever traditions, values that child has learned within that family setting, that young woman is most likely going to remain with them till she gets married. That might be a wild horse, wild card example. Okay? But that is a value that is across quite a number of cultures, but that have become, some people now tell you is outdated. What makes it outdated? What makes it outdated? Okay? What are the reasons? You're either in your father's house or in your husband's house. And then some people will now say you are saying that everybody must get married. Should everybody must get married? Well, I'm too old to be in my father's house. if you respect your family values, you will not be able to begin to make those classifications of I'm too old, I can't be with my father, I can't be with my mother. Okay? Now, values, like I said earlier, are not the same as tradition. There are some traditions that are harmful, that have come to change over time. Okay? I will give another, maybe extreme one. Circumcision, for instance, of females, for instance. It's a tradition that a lot of cultures, a number of cultures in Africa especially, hold very sacred. Okay? But then with science and health implications, we'll come to know that female genital mutilation is not healthy for women. It's not. Okay? But some families still hold on to that tradition and they call it family value. In this family, we value female circumcision. But scientifically and medically, it's not healthy. So on health grounds, of course, that can change. That should change. I will share this. I like to bring facts to bear as we discuss on this program. I knew of a friend in my university days. While we were in the university, the family insisted that she had to go to circumcise. It was horrendous. A full-grown woman in the university, but the family insisted she had to go circumcise. She obeyed them. Okay? Now, is that a value you want to retain? Looking at the health implication, my answer is no. Regardless of whatever the culture that had instituted it to become a value in your family, when you think about the health implication for the individual concerned involved, that change needs to happen. Okay? That evolution from circumcision, well, which is female genital mutilation, to not adhering to it at all, that evolution needs. But there are other utilitarian values that are beneficial till whatever time for the good of the individuals concerned themselves, but they will see as, let's take cooking, for instance. Cooking is a value. It's a family value in a lot of families in the so-called third world. And even in the first world, when it was still medieval up to maybe 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th century, young women still were taken through, learning specific handiwork skills. Cooking was part of it. Sewing and all of those. Are those values? They are not. But cooking, traditionally in Africa, in Nigeria, in the two tribes that I am related to, the Yoruba and Igbo, cooking is a value. It's not just culture, it's not just tradition, it's a value that this is not being gender biased now, no. Any female that is interested in going to get married to somebody tomorrow is a value, okay? So there are values that, okay? So there are values that because of health implications, because of geographical situations, health implications, because of geographical situations might evolve. But there are certain values that sentiments should not bring about their evolution. Okay, we have another contribution from a community member here. Say, how do you make sure that children learn life skills from older family members like cooking or gardening? It's by practicing it. It's by bringing them, to the table when those things are being done. It's by arranging those family values, okay? And then I learned how to cook quite a number of traditional meals from my grandmother. And of course, my mother. I have a new book, that's going to be out next month. It's a rather long book. But in it, I narrated the first time my mother visited us after my marriage, and she was served a particular delicacy, a meal, a soup. Okay, the person that cooked it, the person that was at home with me, my wife then, it was not from the same place my mother was from. So my mother was like, where did you people buy this soup from? Which restaurant sells this kind of soup in Lagos? And she said to her then, I cooked it. My mom would, how? What was that possible? He said, your son taught me. How did I learn it? She taught me, meaning my mother taught me. So, parents, part of the benefit of you allowing your children, of you arranging, facilitating your children to have relationships, for those bridges to be built between your parents and your children, is that they will get to learn to do things that even you might not have had time to teach them. Okay? Whatever it is, whatever those skills are, whatever those life skills are, cooking, gardening, sewing, whatever it is. Okay? The parents, remember, the grandparents have time on their hands. They are probably retired, so they don't have any. Their being with the children prolongs their lives, keeps them active. They are being with their grandchildren, whether they go to visit them or it's the parents or the grandparents that come to visit. Those times they share together keep them active mentally, physically, emotionally. So there are a number of researches that have shown that actually prolongs the lives keeps them healthier, keeps them to live longer. The grandparent that this is now. Okay, but let me not forget I'll finish that story about myself and the moths. Good. So I said, don't laugh. Even if you are laughing, I'll still finish it. Right? Good. So as I got up, sneakily got up, trying to avoid the moth. As I just passed it, it got up and followed. I ran. It followed, the flight direction was in the direction of my run. And guess what? As I continued to look back, it wasn't only that one. There were now 3 others, 4. And it was like they were pursuing me. I was running and falling until I got to the compound. People were wondering, my grandma was, what's wrong with you? I was like, I'm screaming. They were laughing. Moths, butterfly, you're running away from. Leave your children to go to the village. Get your children, arrange for your children to go to visit your grandparents. Allow for your parents to come to spend time with you. There are many benefits for all concerned. The children learn new things. Your parents get new leases on life, emotionally, mentally, and physiologically. And you'll be better off for it. Besides, you've gone to work. If you get to bring your parents to live with you and they are still strong, you might not have time, you might not have needs for house help, have daycare. They're there. They have the time. Okay? So, your children your parents. If you still have grandparents yourself, they are great grandparents. You don't know how invaluable that is until those folks are no longer with us. So thank you for sharing your time with us today. Please don't hesitate to go visit our YouTube channel, the Slow Parenting Podcast on YouTube. You will find, not cool, you will find all our previous videos there. You're free to download them. Please subscribe, support us, to keep on with this program by subscribing. And thank you, all of you, all the members who have sent in those questions, those concerns. Thank you. It makes the program more lively. It makes it much, much interesting for us to engage with each other and give responses to the questions or insights that we bring in the course of our discussions on the program. So I thank you. Don't forget, you can also get to visit our other social media handles on TikTok, WhatsApp, Facebook, Instagram. Okay. So we'll come your way again next Wednesday, same time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, US and Canada, and 7 p.m. West African time, including Nigeria. Stay blessed and keep bonding. Bye-bye.